this like these my boys at the bars back in the 90s, you know what I mean? Like twitching, went from smiling to sad face to notes. Look at her chest, like her heart is beating out of it. Took a judge, took some dude in a robe behind the desk to be able to get people to convince them that this was unlawful. Some of us have been saying it from minutes after she made this publication.
And accounts have been frozen, and more accounts will be frozen.
Literally, in one statement, she turns us into a banana republic. Anybody had over $1 million in a bank account got their call from their lawyer, their accountant, telling them it's about time they move offshore somewhere. Just in one statement, she just slid us into third world country status.
We respect very much Canada's independent judiciary.
Oh, yeah, you do.
However,
right into appeal.
We do not agree with this decision.
Followed you all the way here. First question, I was wondering, what do you make of your security detail arresting David Menzies?
Just your face, it just dropped. She just said, oh man, I can't believe you asking me that question. It started with a big smile. Oh, I'm so happy to see you here. Ask me a light question, you know, how's the weather in Ottawa?
How uncomfortable does she look every time she has to do the devil's work in trying to, even this speech about respectfully going to, if it was respectful and respected the judicial, you take their opinion and you'd apologize to the population, recognizing that you put millions of people out of work, you made certain people go destitute in the process.
If she was like at least decent looking woman, you can see maybe why she got there, but she's not. So how did she get there?
My very first call this year was with Volodymyr Zelensky.
Oh wow.
Who wanted to know.
He's like, who wanted to know? He's like, yo, Justin, you know, I heard that on that Indian trip, you got some good coconut plain.
It is painful for a lot of Canadians. I think we see our body politic really being violated by an illegal occupation of our capital, by blockades of our essential trade corridors. So that is, it's really, really sad. But it is also a day of determination, and it is a day when I think everyone in our government is very resolute. A liberal democracy must be prepared to defend itself. And that is what is happening in Canada right now. That is what happened with our invocation of the Emergencies Act. And anyone...
Andre, I feel violated just by watching this.
Yeah, she has.
I mean, it's a reminder, right? This is, you know, for the viewership, this is Truckers Convoy time.
Some cringe factor about her. It's out of body every time I hear her speak. It's just very, I don't know. She feels more like a vessel than anything else.
Oh, tell me more. Vessel filled with what?
Yeah, exactly.
With hopes and promises for the greater Canada. Okay, here's the question for the audience. Here's the question. Brothers and sisters, welcome to the show. And today at the show, we're going to discuss the past, the present, and the future of Canada. My guess is Chrystia Freeland is, well, Andre just said it. She's behind all of this. My guess is either she's being thrown under the bus, like right this second, or she's being groomed as an interim leader in between the things. And, you know, knowing her Nazi family background, all of those things could be true. Andre, since you haven't been around in a while, come on, put your 2 cents in.
Yeah, I missed you guys. Yeah, I think she's actually the talking. No, she's the person behind the talking head of Justin Trudeau. I feel like being groomed for the next up and coming, but at the same time, she seems to be a lot more pertinent than we give her credit for. But at the same time, it's as if the more camera time she gets, the least likelihood that she's going to fall in people's favor, because she hasn't managed to say anything throughout these years that could actually do what she's attempting to do, which is make people at ease or at peace, or when she's either always mentioning fear or sad and doing the sad face. And it's just very...
It always starts with a smile, even when she talks about some Nazi atrocities. I mean, remember this video? I mean, this is her. This is
So
the
you're
best.
confirming that
Look.
accounts have been frozen, both personal and corporate, but you're not releasing the information. And the actual follow-up is, I'm just wondering whether the bank accounts will be targeted
Yeah,
of
she's-
individuals
her
who
mannerism.
donated to the Give, Send, Go
This is
and
just like
the
these
GoFundMe
my boys at the
campaigns. Are
bars
they
back in the
considered
90s. You know what I
designated
mean?
people under
Like
the Emergencies
twitching,
Act,
went from
meaning that their
smiling
credit
to
cards could be
sad
cut,
face to
and
notes.
financial
Look
services
at
are
her
targeting them
chest,
as
like
well.
her heart is beating out of it.
Okay, so the names of both individuals and entities.
By the way, you're not that far off. So if she does have a Nazi background, you know, the Nazis had the best speed drugs. Like during the World War II, they gave it to the soldiers.
Pervitin.
Pervitin, exactly. They gave it to the soldiers, and they also did give it to the upper echelon. Like Hitler was on all kinds of drugs and stuff like this. And we know the relationship there. Okay,
It's a cultural thing for her. Is that what you're
cultural
saying?
thing. What I'm saying is, brothers and sisters, today we're celebrating the fact that Supreme Court of Canada announced that, you know, what we've been saying all along, that the actions of the government, it took them long enough, right? It took them long enough. So, I mean, they're hoping that the populace of Canada has a memory of goldfish, that we forgot the things that happened 2 years ago, and they're just like, oh, let's move on to the next thing. What's the next thing? Oh, disease X and climate change, right? So we'll remind you, brothers and sisters, what this garbage was all about, and this is the garbage.
As well as crypto wallets have been shared by the RCMP with financial institutions.
By the way, brothers and sisters, I think information about Alex Sasho specifically has been shared with RCMP as well, and you know, perpetrators of Bill C-11. We have been extremely shadow banned. You get a better chance of finding us on Rumble or X. So please sign up to Alex Sasho on Rumble. If you are still on YouTube, and I encourage you still to be on YouTube in some ways, because there's a lot of lost souls in there. And I don't mean like you need to put effort into that and invest into developing YouTube and putting your content there, but you can still spread the good news. That's my rant.
And accounts have been frozen, and more accounts will be frozen. Crowdfunding platforms and payment service providers have started the registration process with FinTrack. In terms of the specifics on whose accounts are being frozen, you now have the regulations. The financial service providers have those regulations as well, and they, working with law enforcement.
This is when Canada officially turned Nazi. Okay,
Literally, in one statement, she turns us into a banana republic. Anybody that had over $1 million in the bank account got their call from their lawyer, their accountant, telling them it's about time they move offshore somewhere. Just in one statement, she just slid us into third world country status.
Now, can you imagine if Canadians had CBDCs at this time, central bank digital currencies, what they'd be able to do with this ideology that they have going on here, the amount of control they would have over people? You have to follow us or we'll just lock you out.
It's as if they did their move out of order. You know, they should have waited for their CBDC. They're trying to push it and then do this kind of shit, because that's why they want the CBDC, is purely to do this.
Well, I really think, and that's my statement, I always say that, I think they really overplayed their hand. I think because of the timelines, right? The Agenda 2021, Agenda 2030. And you know they overplayed it because now they pushed all those agendas to 2035, to 2050. You know,
stuff like this, they're sidestepping themselves, and it's forcing them to the public opinion now that, you know, some of us saw that. Again, it took a judge, it took some dude in a robe behind the desk to be able to get people to convince them that this was unlawful. Some of us have been saying it from minutes after she made this publication. So yeah, it's
and this is going on right after this last week when Trump said when he becomes the boss in the White House again, which is coming in November, that there would be no chance there would be a CBDC in America. And he could point just to look at those crazy Canucks up there in Canada. But look what they allowed.
I'm glad you brought it up. I totally just skipped my mind, and I'm just going to get sidetracked for 30 seconds. You know the concept of Team Canada? Team Canada is the team of Canadian appointed politicians, ministers, and foreign ministers, etc., specifically to address Trump's reelection. Team Canada was the first set up for the 2016, and now they're setting up it again.
And what
in
is this
preparation.
within the Liberal Party, or is this interparty?
Clearly. I just heard it on CJAD
Well,
or
they
whatever.
keep saying it, right? They say,
Yeah.
"Oh, we're going to be in trouble with a second Trump presidency."
They're scared as if Daddy's coming home.
Yeah, when they say we, it's not Canadian people; it's you politicians who are going to be in trouble.
Remember, okay, so last week, a few days ago, when Thursday, right, we heard that the Supreme Court said that this was, and I don't know why that's not. They have Justin, being the front man right now for this particular issue. This is what she has to say.
So we are aware of the court decision. We have discussed it with the Prime Minister, with cabinet colleagues, with senior federal government officials and experts. We respect very much Canada's independent judiciary.
Oh, yeah, you do.
However,
Right into appeal.
we do not agree with this decision, and respectfully, we will be appealing it.
No, you lose. Canadians win.
We
Okay.
didn't agree with anything you said.
Canadians are starting to win.
Well, and that's the point. Like, are we winning? Is it real? Okay, I'll get into that in the segue. But I think, now they're saying we live in corporate fascism, right? You heard that expression, right? I think we always lived in corporate fascism. We had East Trade Company, we had West Trade Company, the opiate wars, whatever they had, so the earth, whatever earth is the playground for corporations. And they set up those, governments sort of to make us feel like we're independent and we have freedom. I believe American Revolution is a good example of that. And they let go of this sort of political control, but they maintain economical control. And that's, and eventually they invested in, put in tools in place to control us all, like Fed, for example, taxes, right? And now they're doing it with all kinds of trade agreements, Atlantic Trade Agreement, Pacific Trade Agreement, and all this other stuff. And then they're putting in carbon tax, World Economic Forum stuff, Agenda 2030, and all this other stuff. And who's on top of the chains? Corporations. Good examples. Amazon comes to New Zealand to shoot Lord of the Rings. There's no COVID in Amazon. Amazon leaves to go to London to shoot season 2. COVID comes to New Zealand. There's prime examples of that everywhere in the recent time.
Prime.
Oh, wow.
I like that.
Okay. So Chrystia Freeland is clearly a fall guy here, a point man, because she looks like a man. She looks like a really ugly man, too.
She just doesn't look well.
She doesn't look
there's,
well, right?
again, the definition of disease, you're just not at ease. And how uncomfortable does she look every time she has to do the devil's work in trying to, even this speech about respectfully going to, if it was respectful and respected the judicial, you take their opinion and you'd apologize to the population, recognizing that you put millions of people out of work, you made certain people go destitute in the process, and be semi-remorseful. The fact that there's zero remorse coming from them, and this guy's announcing he's going to be wanting to be with us another 6 years or something like that.
It's not just zero remorse. It's they continue to do more of the same. I mean, that just happened last week. I mean, let me remind you, brothers and sisters, if you forgot already, we haven't things like Building 7, Epstein didn't kill himself, Plan Gimmick, and Nazi Canada. And here's a great example of Nazi Canada right here.
Ms. Freeland, how come the IRGC is not a terrorist group? Why is your government supporting Islamo-Nazis? What? Excuse me. What are you doing? You're under arrest for assault. Sir, are you You're under
Look at him. Look at him.
Cubo should have been arresting himself for
Oh,
assault.
that guy's a laughing stock of his peer group.
You're referring to RCMP agent?
Yeah, you think
We
that
don't
guy's
know who that is
Yeah, he
for
might
sure.
be CSIS. He might be, who knows. Look at him. Look at that rat.
Paid provocateur
Look at
just to
yeah,
create
you know
this.
what I
You
mean?
never know. You see, the AI is generating all kinds of fake stuff out there that people cannot discern the difference between truth or consequences. It's ridiculous.
And look, they're wearing all black uniforms, and like they don't look like police. They look like SS.
And he outsourced that after he made the cop arrest them, and he told the cop what the charge would be. All of this reeks. I'm happy Tucker's here and satirically saying that he's here to liberate Canada, using this as one of the prime examples why he's here to defend journalism, independent journalism. And this again just made us look like a laughing stock worldwide. It's like it's getting kind of, it's beyond embarrassing at this point. And the fact that she was asked about this, and what does she do again?
Here's what she said. Listen.
Oh, you got that?
Oh yeah, of course.
Followed you all the way here. First question, I was wondering, what do you make of your security detail arresting David Menzies?
Just your face, it just dropped. She just said, "Oh man, I can't believe you asking me that question." It started with a big smile. "Oh, I'm so happy to see you here. Ask me a light question. You know, how's the weather in Ottawa?" And like, "Oh, bitch, you are going to
She
be
goes
on my
right in the left
suicide
field, right?
list."
Like her bipolar condition makes her shift into like a whole other land. Not mistaken, right?
I'm
This is the
reading
one?
her mind right now. She's went into this dark space. She's like, "I wish my grandmother was still alive. She would tell my grandfather to put her on the train."
And isn't this right before the guy's going to cut off and say, "Last question"? She hasn't even answered it yet, and they're already like apprehensive of anything else being said.
But this is how, I don't know how to describe that answer, but let's get into it.
So, I want to start with what was important about Monday. And
Your
It's not important. So
Gestapo,
this is not important, right?
yeah,
So
your Gestapo arrested an independent journalist. That's not important, but let's move on.
let's move on. Yeah, what's more important? Oh, you know,
my gosh.
my garden is blooming, so climate change. That's
what was important about Monday, January 8th, was that was the 4th anniversary of a date that I think forever needs to be marked and circled in black on the calendar of all Canadians. It was a tragedy for Canada. Canadians were criminally murdered. And I want to say to the families and loved ones of the people who were murdered that Canada remembers. Canada.
What is she referring to?
I have no idea. That's not the one I was thinking of when she was cut off by her own press secretary.
Will not forget. And that's why
I have no
was in
idea. That's
Richmond
the
Hill.
point.
Oh
What is
my
she-
gosh!
Marcy
So
was
this is
there
even
too,
another one on
Yeah.
top
to
of the other one I
show
have in
that
mind.
this is a
Must have
Canadian
been when the
tragedy.
Canadians
that
elected
Canada
the Liberals.
remembers, and Canada will not forget.
Yeah, we won't forget.
On the incident, as you guys know very well, Canada is a rule of law country.
Oh yes. Now it's a rule of law. It's like, you know, if you listen to the CBC, CJD or whatever,
That's the rule of law,
liberal,
CBC.
what they'll say is like, well, you know, the corporations, you know, the COVID assist that they got, they should pay it back. And if they can't, well, sucks to be them, because, you know, it's a free market economy. You know, like if you can't run your business in with the Nazi restrictions, you know, it
Do
sucks
better.
to be, do better, find the way, you know, like, yeah, it's a country of law, rule of law.
Canada is a democracy.
Oh, is it?
Jeez. Yeah, we lost that title a while ago.
Decisions about law enforcement are taken by the police of jurisdiction, quite appropriately.
By the way, those horses trampling and those black, I don't think they were even police. They were the UN enforcement, wasn't it?
I thought it was RCMP.
That
but
was
I don't know.
RCMP.
Yeah.
But they had no insignia on them. We didn't really know who that
Really?
was. Yeah.
Men in black.
Political elected officials have no role in the taking of those decisions.
Oh, so the Emergency Act had nothing to do with elected officials. So they did not make that decision. So they didn't push for the Emergency Act. So they had nothing to do with the rule of law.
We should have like a top 5 of grilling people to actually vote for these people. Because as much as we're ragging on her, can you imagine that people voted and will keep voting for
Women.
for this? The way I'm covering it is that the men vote the same way as their women in their households. Again, in Montreal, Quebec, the men that I
point.
know are voting liberal. They're
Good
voting for
point.
this trash. They're simps. They're cucks. They're the ones that haven't said anything for the past 4 years. And they
Len,
really,
what did they say? Happy wife, stupid husband.
Yeah. Happy wife, happy life. Yeah, it doesn't work that way.
I don't know that many men that vote conservative that convince their women to, and not convince them and force them, but just like intellectually be able to explain to them that you don't want high taxes, you don't want big government, you want your basic rights and
his
freedoms.
hair is so nice, and you know he takes his son to the Barbie movie. You know he's so progressive. You know he's a good modern a role model.
Yeah,
the
I
modern
don't know.
man.
We'll wait to see his ex-wife Safi's book maybe in about 20 years that explains that maybe when she found out about what was happening at West Gray and the NDA that he had that child sign, maybe that came into play. Maybe his visits to Epstein Islands came into play. Maybe the fact that he does swing for the other team. And
Glenn
then she's
thinks
just
it's all fake. Glenn thinks it's just a feint. It's like it's an illusion. Let's break up now. You go away because I'm on the heat right now.
Really?
And like because he has like 300 million plus of whatever. So she's going to take that in divorce, and no way we're going to see any of that. I don't know. Strategic move, maybe.
I think she just had enough, honestly, to leave him at this point. But
Yeah.
who knows? But I'm thinking at some point in time, like Melinda Gates, we might hear some interesting interviews or some tell-all books about who this guy was. And the guy's a creep. You know what I mean? Like
Melinda Gates looks like a man, so yeah, she'll never come out and say any of that shit. It's just like Michael Obama will never come out and write a book about.
Be careful. She might be coming out with the Democrats, and depending on what might be happening in this race, the way I see it, she's kind of in the pool.
Yeah.
But as far as Trudeau and his...
She's not in the same pool as the cook was, right? That 4 foot deep pool.
The 4 foot deep guy that had like the swimming capabilities of like a professional swimmer.
And then he drowned.
Yeah, all that doesn't...
Did he saw Michael's dick or he heard something on the phone?
Probably both.
Well, Glenn, you're awfully quiet today. I got one video for you though.
I'm just listening to the comedy show.
We're not over with the comedy show because the brothers and sisters, we live in, if we can't laugh at ourselves right now, we can't laugh at anyone else. But, you know, Tucker encouraged us to laugh in the face of adversity. And that's what we're going to do. Glenn, this is your video.
This is the third cabinet retreat.
Oh, man, why is every video starts with that green? Explain
Do me a
that.
favor, have that face, and then in like a couple of seconds from Dr. Jekyll and Hyde here.
That's why I'm quiet, because I'm tired of looking at this.
Well, it's the last one, I promise.
Takes away all
it's
inspiration, all mojo.
It's
gone.
the last one for the show, I promise. But this is
Woefully
important.
flaccid.
I know
Look at
she's
her.
a, what is she? She's a
Flat tire, that's what it
she's
is.
She's a deputy prime minister, and she's a minister of finance, right? So she's directly responsible for all the economic downfall.
Can you imagine that, Canadians? This lady here is second in charge. You have your Prime Minister queer of Canada right now, and now it's her.
I like that.
Yeah.
And he already told you he's dyslexic, doesn't want to fuck with numbers, so it's definitely her. That's 100%.
He's not dyslexic. He's numerically
challenged.
He's this numeric Canadian. I'm actually waiting for the day till Trudeau comes. It'll be funny if Trump does that. But Trudeau comes out and says, today is an important day. And I got to tell you one.
Leave in the closet.
I'm a gay Canadian.
Oh,
like that will be his defense. It'll be his defense. He's like, there's a thing happened when I was a kid. My daddy, you know, and you see where I'm going with that.
Thinking this might be Michelle Obama going to be doing that and presenting Mike to the world at some point.
Okay. Let's watch this.
At least in a row where you've said that affordability and housing prices and inflation are sort of your key topics of conversation. A year later, at least with 3 cabinet retreats, Canadians don't seem to be buying whatever message you're selling on it. Why are Canadians not believing that your government has a solution?
Last question.
That's the one.
You're right. This has been an incredibly challenging economic period. And it's one of the things we've spoken about. And I think all of us need to step back a little bit and look at the economic roller coaster our country and all of us have been through since COVID.
You don't have to step back. Just rewind the episode to the beginning. It's about 25 minutes in, not that far, and just rewatch the chronological events of her being in charge of making those anti-economical decisions. She made the decisions. It's not me, Glenn, and Andre woke up and said, okay, today we're going to put masks on. We're going to shut down all of the economy, and don't you dare leave your house, and don't you dare leave your province.
It blows my mind nobody knows the 101 of economics and that they're 100% responsible for inflation. Bank of Canada has its mandate, but it's the government printing debt money that creates inflation. There's no debating that. That's like Econ 101. So to have her on camera, never taking responsibility, trying to skate around gaslighting us as if it's not them and all their spending that is not derived from taxation.
COVID, it's not our fault. Okay, they never shut down Florida, they shut down Florida for a week. They never shut down Texas. They never shut down Sweden. They never shut down a whole bunch of countries in the world, right? What happened to Quebec?
But again, this is me saying all the men here are simps and cucks. Even the ones that are the macho men that I would associate with being machos were attending Stanley Cup playoffs.
With
and
a mask
from one game was in Florida, and that place was packed to the hills, and they couldn't do any audience here in Montreal. And everybody supposedly in Montreal so proud of their Habs, saying that the sixth player on the ice is the fans, and they were too stupid or too dumb to even. I would have thought if there was a revolt, it would have been for that they weren't allowed to attend their own Stanley Cup playoffs, but not even a question asked. Instead, you had our Minister of Health offering free hot dogs for vaccines, wearing the Habs jerseys. These couch potatoes, bloated, swollen men on the couch are the problem. She's just a running gag. It's these men that I grew up with, that I came up with, that I can't even. Looking in them in the face, the only thing I'd like to address with them is how you let that. And again, they're the ones voting liberal. Like, they would never be able to look at their wife and be like, I think I'm going conservative this time around.
And he's right, because big guy, guess what province would still vote him overwhelmingly?
Us. And it's us that controls
Quebec.
it for Canada, but they played us off so well, the French and the English here, that the Anglophones that I know can envision voting conservative, and because they're afraid that the Bloc would win. It's embedded in us. It's how we grew up in the 80s and 90s, and it's the reason why the Liberals have such a stronghold. You could upload a video of him having sex with a tree, and they'd still vote for him. At this point, like, you can't get more egregious stuff than inflation. Cost of living.
Are you referring to Freeland as a tree? She's more like a stump.
I think that would make him gay if he was to indulge with her. So. But yeah, it's
okay. Let's finish this video because it's important to us. It's economics, It's carbon tax, stupid.
First hit. This is now nearly 4 years ago, right? So COVID hit beginning of 2020, and we shut down our economy. Really, for the first time in world history.
Who's we? Andre, again, is it you, Glenn? No,
you shut down our economy.
I had a restaurant that I closed on March 15, 2020. I knew the shit show that was coming along, and all the other business owners that already had that noose around their neck, because it's almost impossible to run a business here already pre-COVID, to have to put a couple of $100 to a couple of $1,000 worth of plexiglass stickers on the floor, and all the other dumb shit that they were making small, mid-sized businesses do right before they told them they weren't essential, just to keep all the multinationals open. That was 100%
I got
them.
news for you. They brought masks back in the hospitals.
Yeah, I saw that too. Testing too.
They're trying to.
I saw testing.
So there's a stockpile, right, of masks somewhere in the warehouse, and Legault probably owns half of the stock, so they need to sell it.
No, but this to me, it's just like the Jan 6 in the U.S., that trucker convoy, them appealing the decision. They need to keep this hot and unaccepted, because it's just to deter us from wanting to revolt or show back up to manifest against what they have up. They know what they got upcoming. They know what they need to try to pull off. And in order to do that, they need to keep that pressure on of taking the incentive and just putting fear in people, as far as like, you will get your bank account seized. That wasn't a Banana Republic move. That was totally lawful what we did. We're putting this into appeal. You know what I mean? Like, they know what's wrong, but they just know what they got to ram through in the next couple of weeks. So they're just going to keep the pressure on.
Okay, let's finish that video.
And we were thrown into the deepest recession since the Great Depression.
You threw us in
Think back
recession.
to our predictions then. Think back to the fears, legitimate fears.
We were all screaming, say, don't do this. We're going to be in recession.
Yeah.
We're going to be in all. We were all saying that. Oh, we didn't know. It's not our fault.
It took us a week to figure out not 10 or 15% of people around us were going to die, and we told you we ain't scared of shit.
Yeah.
Fears we all had of deep economic scarring, of the pain you would get from prolonged unemployment. That was shock number one. Then you had shock number two, which was the shock.
I have a penis.
Hurts.
That's our shock.
It hurts, man. It hurts to hear her talk.
Of the reopening of our economy. And we had all of the supply chain challenges in the world because it wasn't only our economy being reopened, it was the global economy. And that was exacerbated by
us following the globalist agenda, using the World Economic Forum. She's like a vice president of World Economic Forum.
She's one of the organizers
Yeah.
every year to the World Economic Forum. She's an outstanding member. So is Justin Trudeau, and so is Mr. Singh. And the only way this government is staying in power was the coalition between the NDP, Singh, and the Liberals, Trudeau.
Putin's illegal invasion of Ukraine.
Oh, Putin's illegal invasion of Ukraine. I like when they throw that. Putin's illegal invasion of Ukraine. Israel self-defense, the European pact against Yemen in self-defense of the Red Sea. What else? I mean, just the recent examples, right?
That war is coming to
adding
an
an
end,
energy shock to that. As a result of these supply chain shocks, of the energy shock, we had high inflation.
Putin's fault.
And then the next shoe to drop, I guess I have more shocks than I have shoes.
I doubt that with your salary and all the money you stole, and the only way you can... never mind. I don't even know where I'm going with that.
But the next wave to hit was then high interest rates in response to high inflation. So I don't think it is at all surprising.
What about
that
what about carbon tax? She didn't mention that.
Canadians
Immigration?
are exhausted, that Canadians have economic whiplash. It has been a really hard time, and it has been one thing after another, one unprecedented in the lifetime, of certainly a person who didn't live through the First World War, one unprecedented shock.
Notice how she did not mention World War II in the legacy of her family.
Stay away from that.
After another.
By the way, brothers and sisters, and not to get sidetracked, today is the Remembrance Day. You know what the Remembrance Day? Today is Saturday, 27th of January. It's the Holocaust Remembrance Day. So I'm remembering Canadian Holocaust by doing this show with you, Andre and Glenn.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So yeah. So feel anti-Semitic.
I think the good news is we are, as a country, working hard to get through those shocks. Inflation, you mentioned inflation.
I think the good news is we are, as a country now, a lot of us as a country, awake to atrocities put forth by your government, you specifically as well. And that's the good news. That's my take on this.
Yeah, they're forcing us to assemble this dream team, and that's what's starting to show. We're starting to find out who's who, and these people that are lost everything, they got their back against the walls, and it's doing us a favor in some sort of way. It's allowing us to unite. People that like-minded that have enough balls to speak up against this. They're just waking up like sleeping giants. People that are, I know certain people that are just pissed. They realize for the first time now they're starting to realize it wasn't just COVID that was a lie.
No,
everything they've ever been told, everything they've ever believed is. You start digging a little bit, and you could figure out that these people are just full of shit.
Inflation, Mia, it was at 8.1% at one of our cabinet retreats. It's now down to 3.4%. That is a real meaningful change. We've talked about jobs.
Meaningful change. I don't even want to hear the rest. Whatever she's saying is garbage. Meaningful change will be, guys.
Means she slowed down the economy. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Okay, they lowered the value of the currency, and so the prices of everything went up. Now there's less liquidity out there, and it's showing. That's what's slowing everything down. People going through a harder time. She thinks that's a good thing?
Well, in the way you said it, and the way you put it together, you'll never hear it on the legacy media. And the problem is Canadians won't even hear it from the YouTube shows or other sources because show like ours is extremely shadow banned. Our YouTube, I mean, we don't have super huge amount of subscribers, but amount of views since we've been starting, like, telling the truth went down dramatically. And that's because of Bill C-11 and other bills they put forth. Of course, they're going to control the narrative. So there's two ways they're doing it, right? So the carrot and stick. With carrot, they're giving like $1 billion to CBC and say, here's the money, do the news, wink, wink. You know what kind of news you're going to do. and also Bill C-11, Alex Sasho, shadow ban him, because we don't want people to know. We want to keep people in the dark and talk about Justin's hair and illegal war in Ukraine. It's Putin's fault. And yeah, Trump. Sorry, we got to talk about Trump too.
Orange man bad. Yeah,
Orange
can't
man
forget
bad.
that.
Yeah, can't forget that. Now, before we move on to a solution, we can never forget that she's just a deputy, and I don't know why she's been all over the show. Like in the last few days, she's been all over. Like Trudeau has been put on the secondary, and we know now, because now even the talk amongst the Liberal Party is like, oh, he needs to go. You know, he's making us all look bad. We're going to all lose the jobs. We're not going to get reelected with this dick in charge. So let's do something different, right? So are they throwing her, the question to the panel, Glenn and Andre, are they throwing her under the bus this way because all those videos have surfaced? Or she's being groomed as an intermediate, interim leader of Liberal Party till the next election? Kind of thing?
I always felt like she probably took on more than he did behind the scenes, and does more of the talking points, and most likely being groomed just because she's a woman at this point. Like, she's made a reputation. I don't know if she was ambassador. She had like years in DC, an official function for Canada. I don't know if it was
That's
ambassador or something. She had a horrible reputation with the people that had to work with her. Zero IQ. Like, without it becoming like sounding like a schoolyard, like picking on
but
her.
and then you're looking at her and you're like, okay, well, if she was like at least decent looking woman, you can see maybe why she got there, but she's not. So
Not
how
even.
did she get there? So it's strictly her genetics, right? It's her roots.
I think she's always been able to push agendas shamelessly. I think her stint also
So
was
not consciousness, no conscious, right?
no, unconscious, and just totally working on low entity, low energy, low vibes, like low dimension. She's just very materialistic, very like able to laugh at you and gaslight you in your face and tell you that, peeing on you and telling you it's rain.
That's a good one. He's Trudeau peeing on all of us when he says this. Remember that?
There's a level of admiration I actually have for China, because their basic dictatorship is allowing them to actually turn their economy around on a dime.
Yeah, so just like they turned the economy around on a dime here in Canada and put us into unbelievable debt.
Just a little rich kid, just a little nepotistic kid that never did anything ever in his life, actually daydreaming of the day that he could be a dictator and have things done his way without having to do any checks and balances or run through the judicial or due process and just do things on a whim. What a rat.
Okay, so this is, so while they have us, this is the things that we should be focused on, like things like our country. This is what he chooses to focus on. And this is like, again, it's Putin, or Trump, and that's where he fits in.
My very first call this year was with Volodymyr Zelensky,
Oh, wow.
who wanted to know.
Prides himself.
He's like, who wanted to know? He's like, yo, Justin, I heard that on that Indian trip, you got some good coconut plain. Where do you get it?
There's that saying again and again that, it's either they're in on it or they're too stupid to figure it out. For like the theatrical aspect, I wish he was in on it and he was like a villain, but he's really just dumb as nails. I'm at the point where he's just really stupid, this guy, like really dumb. That's his pride. That's his first call of the year. Was to Zelensky, like, does he not know the history of Ukraine from World War II, moving up till more recently, 2014?
He
like,
does. Chrystia told him. Chrystia told him the history.
She told him the good one, yeah.
Yeah, the good one. She's like, Justin, now since you've been to Epstein Island, I'm gonna tell you the history.
And he looks like that he's playing the part, the only one that he knows, which is of a drama teacher, with his literal sleeves are rolled up, and he look at the way like he's presenting and talking. It's like, I need to make an impersonation of him. See how well I could do.
Right here. Okay, you want to do this impersonation? Look at him clapping. That's just happened. What, 2 days ago or yesterday?
Oh,
Oh my God! Look at that girl. Who's that girl? Is that his daughter? That
she's
could be.
creeped out. Look at her. Look at him. You know what I mean?
He's overreacting. He knows the camera's on him. So let me look. I'm all cheerful. Look at my nice hair. Look at all those women around him. I'm
I like
so
this.
proud.
I want to see celebrity boxing versus him and Tucker. They got that kind of like homeboy. Look at that, the clothing, the same style, but one totally from one end of the spectrum and the other one on the other end of the spectrum. And Tucker,
I don't know. I don't know.
seems
Tucker doesn't look like he worked out a day in his life.
well, neither did this guy. Look how soft he looks. Like he's so
No,
feminine.
he does. You've seen him box. He runs in front. You know, he runs like a
I
woman.
see him take it off the chin that one time and him go down in sparring. No, I don't believe.
No, I wouldn't want him to go again. Speaking of Tucker and speaking about resistance in the fight, you know, it seems like Pierre Poilievre is the front runner. I mean, is he a solution? Because he says all the right things here.
Thank you. We are going to repeal C11, the censorship law, which allows CRTC bureaucrats to secretly manipulate social media algorithms to promote certain information, demote other information, and censor certain things altogether. This is a form of censorship that exists nowhere in the democratic world. Margaret Atwood actually said that this was creeping totalitarianism. This is Margaret Atwood. This is not a conservative, obviously not a conservative, but she is an artist, a true artist, who believes that freedom of expression and freedom of the press is necessary. We're going to stop arresting journalists. It's outrageous
So basic.
for the Prime Minister to have, and his government, to have journalists arrested for merely for asking questions of ministers and public officials.
But that's the Western democracy we're spreading in Ukraine. And that's why we in war, like the most corrupt country in the world is Ukraine, or have been before, during, and after. But that's what we're defending. And like, of course we're defending this, because if we can't defend corruption there, then how can we defend corruption here? Or vice versa.
And we're going to make sure that the government does not use tax dollars to leverage news coverage in its favor. Right now, Justin Trudeau is censoring those that he disagrees with and trying to buy off the rest. And that undermines confidence among Canadians in the news media.
I will be the first one, brother and sister, to tell you that we're extremely censored. Like, I'm going to post this video on YouTube anyway, and I'm not going to promote it. I'm just going to see how naturally it's going to get picked up just among our subscribers. And I don't know. I really don't.
You
I
guys
no
have been
faith.
shadow banned for quite some time, and thank goodness we have Rumble. Thank goodness again. You know, when he's saying $40 billion wasn't for Twitter, it was for free speech. I'm grateful that we got these platforms. This guy is the solution when you're playing the binary game of left and right, conservative and liberal. Do your job at home. You have somebody giving you the talking points of what they hear on the news. Tell them to shut the fuck up. Like, they're doing no favors. You're just a little bitch if you're just repeating what you saw on the news, or if your boyfriend, your father, your uncle, that's your job. You know, not to censor, but just fight back to that and let them know that these are just talking points embedded in their minds for a reason.
Glenn, I'm going to close the show. Go ahead.
Well, you know, Canadians are known to be nice, polite, and respectful. But now we're not so timid anymore. And that movement we started, the trucker movement and the rebellion against this dictatorship style of government, it seems to have started a trend in many other countries in the world. Right now, in France, in Belgium, in Germany, you have massive protests going on, starting with the farmers. Truckers are getting involved. It seems like the real men are coming up the way they used to be again. They're saying, okay, you pushed us a little bit too far. You know, they should have, when they were quiet, they should have got up and said something. When they were complacent, they should have been more rebellious. But now it's starting to come. You know, you can't stop a time that's supposed to come. And now is the time. And this is what is transpiring. And it's a wave. It's changing the whole world. I see good things happening in Canada. We're going to go through a rough time, but we're going to come out to a better future. And it's starting. And it's starting with the men waking up and wanting to take back the control. And like you said, Andre, you start at the individual level first. And as brothers, we have to, you know, steel sharpen steels. Brothers have to sharpen brothers, and we have to talk to them straight and say, hey, it's time to wake up. We need more men. And all you need is 20% of the men out there who are awake, and they will create 80% of the positive change that's coming our way. And we're going to do it.
That's a really good way to close the show on a positive note, because some of our viewers or whoever watched our show left a message, and I don't know if they're actually asking questions, if it's a positive, so it was some kind of rant. We will communicate with you on the comments on our shows. Just be clear. What are you really asking? What do you want? We will communicate with you. We are preparing to go live. Will you be able to ask questions? We'll be able to answer them right there. And we're not going to front. We'll tell you how it is. You probably are gay, and your wife votes, and she signs the checks, and you probably work. I don't know. Brothers and sisters, it's been a great show. Thank you, Andre. Thank you, Glenn.
Thanks, guys.
I respect you. That's why you're both here. But like Glenn said, we live in the good times because you could take charge of your life, take your country back. Brothers and sisters, we'll see you in the next one. Glenn, we make a community worse for everyone.